Hmm.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joy. I'm talking from Germany. I'm representing the Makers for Humanity NGO and our project Open Island. It's about floating islands, and I have the honor and the pleasure to open this international conference on floating futures. And we are hosting this from our houseboat in Hanover. And I welcome you to join the discussion. We are live streaming on YouTube, and let's go and see who's there. We have invited island makers, builders, and interesting people from all over the world. And we started with a vision workshop, so we will hear the results of this 2-hour workshop, the design sprint, and I'll hand over to Nicole Loeser from the Institute for Art and Innovation in Berlin, who is moderating the conference. So let's go.
Yeah, hello friends, visionaries and innovators. It's great to have you all here. And it would be wonderful if you write in the chat where you join us from. And thank you, Joy, for this warm welcome. But I also would like everyone to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished speakers for today's Floating Futures Conference. We have Cesar Jung-Harada from Singapore, Richart Sowa from Brazil, and Joy Lohmann from Germany. But before we hear from our expert speakers, let's acknowledge the creative minds who participated in the Vision Workshop in the last 2 hours and prepared to pitch their forward-thinking ideas that we are now eager to explore. So a round of applause for the talented teams that dedicated their time and creativity to the Vision Workshop. And without further ado, we have 3 groups ready to share their inspiring pitches, each lasting up to 5 minutes. So let's welcome our first pitching team. They circled their ideas around floats for ecosystems, and the virtual stage is yours. If you'd like to share your screens, then please do so. So who would like to start?
Michael, you want to start?
Michael should start. Okay. So Michael, you are still muted?
Can you hear me still?
Yes, yeah, now okay. We can hear you.
Yeah, because I have to remove my headphones as well. So I just have to check, or maybe have you all the float for ecosystem slide in front of you on the Miro board? Otherwise,
Woody shares his screen, so now we can see.
You share the screen, okay. So yeah, we discussed about problems that are somehow related to ecosystems. I can just introduce them maybe just briefly, because we have only 5 minutes and some other parts left. So yeah, what we identified was that especially in riparian areas along rivers and coastal areas, there's a lot of habitat loss because of human land use. This includes species loss. You also have the problem of maybe invasive species. We have the the point human versus nature, which is maybe monocultural agricultural war, which also actually affects ecosystem by destroying them in huge scales. Unfortunately, land use practices, mining. We have stuff like eutrophisation, so you have a lot of nutrients in water bodies, which can be negative for some species. Overfishing, noise and light pollution. Of course, there are other environmental factors that could be affected, but these are some that are very problematic. And then we also thought about geographical and climate impacts, such as sea level rise, ice melting, which is of course connected, CO2 enrichment. Cyclones were a specific case in tropical areas, for example, Malawi. Coastal erosion, but also, for example, green space availability in urban areas. These were some problems that we identified. Unfortunately, there will be more probably. And solutions, that was then nice, because if you have the problems, then you can see or think directly about the solutions. Can you maybe go to the solutions, Budi? Yeah. So just some things that we have. We have here permaculture and circular economy as a thing, which we also have some applicable ideas later in the Lake Malawi thing. Vertical farming, increasing vegetative cover in general. Big thing would be ecosystem regeneration, of course, where you can do it. Against climate change, you can't often generate your ecosystem fast enough for the climate change thing. Underwater farming, habitat provision for above and below water. Water purification, removal of pollutants. You can plant plants for human use or plants with conservational significance. So these are some solutions that we have due to the time, this short time. I think this is still not a complete list, but at least some inspirations on the theoretical level. So then I will hand over to you, Joseph, to show us the Lake Malawi thing.
Okay, thank you so much. So like on the with regard to Lake Malawi, so one of the critical challenges has been in terms of the decline in the water levels, and also the increase in water pollution because of unsustainable agriculture practices. So this has a very significant impact on the water. And as such, we are looking at exploring large floating structures, using even biological agents like the plants. But then we're looking at the right choice of plants that will not end up also causing or creating more other problems, instead of filtering and absorbing the pollutants in the water. So this is one way like of planting the plants, like we are talking about the water hyacinth. Then it appears like in some places they are having problems with this water hyacinth. So we are looking, of course, at appropriate choice of plants that we can use to at least try to reduce and the pollution in the water. And the other challenge was to do with the wetland deterioration, where more cyclones are happening now in Malawi. And because of these cyclones, they have very significant devastating impact on the water ecosystem, but also even on the surrounding communities that depend on the lake. So we're looking at promoting like permaculture, but in an ecological way, so that we reduce the volume of chemicals that find their way into the water system, but at the same time, using biofertilizer, which uses less harmful chemicals, and also exploring on having these large structures on the water, just to also promote this way of thinking and also maximizing the water spaces.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you so much. But you also have a second vision, and even the time is over for your group. I would also give the word for 1 minute to Budi.
Okay, so just real quick, we are tackling the ecosystem using system. That's what my vision is. So if you want to look for information there, I provided link, and maybe some people can provide link in the YouTube channel or something like that, and then they can talk to me more about it. But that's just because the time is up. I just want to say you can look up the Miraboat board and then look at this interlink of system that I created for the people in for the sea nomad called Bajau Laut. Okay, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much for this manifesting of visions and already creating floatable and floating futures for us. And now we are curious what Team 2 came up with. So we have the Flow team for architecture. The stage is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Could you give us sharing rights, please? Because I can't share. Now it works. Perfect. Yeah, I was on a we were in a very inspiring 2-group workshop with Udo. And yeah, I will take it from the end, so to start where we end. So our ideas were about smart and alternative workarounds for bureaucratical problems, individual and community solutions, and a quick and easy start. So our problems we identified were on one hand buying land in which country, Udo?
In Uruguay.
Yeah, in Uruguay, but also Joy gave me personally an example in Hamburg. You always need building permits, but where you don't need one if you build it on a pond. So that is like a solution. Yeah, and we will share later a prototype. And the second version we brought in were the perspective of loneliness in cities and how to solve that. And so when you imagine yourself being lonely in a city, many people go and search for a place for belonging, which they find on riverfronts. Yeah, and we took like the community aspect of riverfronts and went from building an island on a pond to building an island on a riverfront, so that each one of us can create its her or his own personal starting point or jetty. Yeah, and so you can even solve different kind of environmental problems because you don't interfere with the riverfronts, and even build different solutions. We will come later on. And then we went to prototypes of buying land. And that's where I think I hand over, because there we have our most concrete prototype, and I'll hand over to Udo and just join in so he can present maybe his future of or his vision of a solution.
Yes, yes, thank you very much. Yes, I would like to present this vision number 1 now, and I'm here right now working living in Uruguay, and it came across me that a lot of people that are starting to develop their property want to do something that makes them a little self-sufficient and want to start to make permaculture and grow vegetables, and then so they need water, and that's the first thing that they need to establish. And then the second thing is something to stay the night and to live just for when they are building their things. And yeah, it's now with this happening now, it came up my idea to maybe you can join these two things, because here in Uruguay a lot of people start to make a real big swimming pool or a pond where they use the water for agriculture or swimming. So I thought it would be very interesting to think what happens if you use this water or a house on the water, so you don't need another piece of land to use, and also you have a very good effect that the water doesn't evaporate so fast. So there the idea was born to make a sleeping cabin on a pond. And yes, here I don't think if it's possible to see now on the presentation, but there are some photos of a small first sleeping cabin that I wanted to build in the garden. And now with this happening here, the idea is born to make it in a swimming pool or in a small pond. And to, yes. So I think this is more or less the vision of this floating for architecture. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
And
thank you so much.
And then another solution we came up, what you can build is we went also to combine both on the ponds or riverfronts, so that you can build co-working spaces and hubs, maybe restaurants, or and our main object was not to create standardized tiny houses, which are already kind of in a certain way, but that we give each stakeholder, each company maybe a chance to individualize it and personalize it the way it is. It has been shown, and we went even further than creating that I really liked creating a voucher system to also implement an alternative paying system, paying or tokenizing system, which I found also very promising as an alternative. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That was really marvelous. So many cool ideas. And now we are curious what Team 3 came up with. So the team, the stage is yours now.
Alright.
Is there also someone who shares his or her screen?
Okay. I don't think that we need to share the screen. Yannick, could you do the presentation as I'm just speaking with? There is Cesar already. Hi, Cesar.
Okay, so we do no shared screen, right? We don't need that.
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. Okay, I just start, but I still get for myself the screen. So hey, I'm Yannick. I'm 22 years old. Just that you know, I met Joy like 1 year ago. We did a cool art event at the Documenta. And my energy is kind of coming from Burning Man because I'm going there every year and I'm in the desert and I'm like building things with other people and they all like have a hand on something. And I was calling Joy like a few weeks ago and I told him, hey, why are we not building an island in the desert? Like to show all the people that like what we can do with trash and like how you can recycle something and like build a community with those islands. And yeah, that's like kind of the idea. It's not about Burning Man. It's more about festivals and more like bringing sustainability to festivals and like bringing education for sustainability, education for upcycling and recycling on festivals, and start to do something with a group, start to do something with all the people on the festival and like have hands on and also give them a knowledge and give them a worth they can work with, and also like make an art piece with those people and then use this art piece. For example, you can build an island on a festival, and maybe they have a river next to it, or maybe the next festival has a river next to it, and so you can use those islands for the festival and bring like a worth to the festival and to the organization. I think that's the basic words for me. The benefits are awareness, teamwork, togetherness, to put hands on, and more sustainable lifestyle. Thanks for listening, Joy. If you have more, you can go in now.
Thank you. We have with Open Island several times performed at festivals, the Splash and the Melt Festival in Germany, which are located directly beneath the flooded coal mine. And there is also a museum, an open air museum of the Anthropocene. So this was a perfect location to show a new way of the Anthropocene, to see what man-made islands could be of benefit. So we had a floating energy island there, and a floating garden, of course, a floating stage, and some facilities for leisure time. And we did it as workshops for the festival goers. And this was very interesting, and they all loved to do something hands-on, a part of being stoned at the stage at the different floors. So we could provide a good place for community building, to learn something, to exchange ideas, and to build a community. So this we want to standardize with an art piece, a mobile art piece, which can travel from festival to festival. And we will collect messages in the bottle as the initial participation format, so all the people can provide their ideas, their fears, their wishes for a future, and put it into a bottle. And this are the floats where we will float on with these platforms on the festival. In the desert, we don't need a floating island, but still we have the transfer of this idea, and can combine it with an artistic presentation, multimedial, to show existing projects. And then we could, even in the desert of Burning Man, we could bring the people in their imagination to the floating grounds all around the world. So that was the idea, and I think it's feasible, and it would attract like-minded people, and also the media, to get more attention to the worldwide decentral projects.
Thank you so much. That was really marvelous and impressive what all the teams have exchanged in this short time, and also came up with new ideas. Really wonderful. A big thank you to all the teams for your inspiring pitches. But now let's dive into the innovative world of floating futures with our expert speakers. After their presentations, we will have a brief Q&A session, so keep your questions ready, or write them in the chat so we can let them answer after. Firstly, we have the honor of hearing from Cesar Jung-Harada, a versatile French-Japanese designer based in Singapore. And beyond his expertise in design, Cesar is an environmentalist, educator, and entrepreneur. And he is showcasing a profound passion for ocean technology, impact innovation, and education. Currently, he is also serving as an associate professor of design at the Singapore Institute of Technology, and he is also pursuing a PhD in design and ocean innovation in France. Next, we will have Richart Sowa, a remarkable carpenter, artist, and singer-songwriter who made a transformative move from the UK to Mexico in 1997, and today joins us from Brazil. Richart is also an environmentalist and artist and has crafted floating islands, for instance, one using over 100,000 recycled water bottles. And his unique approach to sustainability through art is both inspiring and impactful. And finally, we are delighted to also welcome Joy Lohmann. He already said a lot about his work. He is a German artist with a long-standing dedication to floating art since the World Fair Expo 2000. And Joy's creative journey has led to the development of modular DIY float platforms known as the open islands that we could already hear from. These platforms are also conceived as social sculptures, so means that they host art and culture on their floating stage, contributing to numerous exhibitions and shows. Joy emphasizes the crucial role of culture in all his projects, from conceptualization and aesthetic appearance to project communication and the content presented on the island as a stage or venue. So now, before we delve into the exchange, each speaker will have the opportunity to briefly introduce their current projects and initiatives to our esteemed audience. And Cesar, would you kindly begin by sharing some insights into your ongoing endeavors? Welcome.
Okay, sorry. I'll put the timer so I'll make sure I know 10 minutes. Is it possible for me to share my screen? Okay, I will try to share my screen. If you can please confirm if you can see my screen. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, great. Thanks so much. Here we go. So I will start by showing you a video of a recent project, which is a floating solar hydrogen prototype, which is built in Bali.
Hidup kita dimulai dari sini. Hidup yang semakin sulit ketika harga semakin melonjak tinggi. Bensin, gas, maupun listrik. Tapi kita tidak punya pilihan. Apa yang bisa kita lakukan? Bagaimana jika kita menemukan cara baru? Bagaimana jika kita dapat membuat energi bersih dari air dan matahari? Tentunya hidup kita akan jadi jauh lebih baik dengan teknologi yang kita miliki sendiri. Balon-balon hijau, our energy from the sea.
So what I just presented was a prototype, which we consider speculative design, because although it's functional, it's a very small amount. We know that it's a very small amount of hydrogen that we can produce, but it's also in the context of Bali, Indonesia, where people consume also very little amount of energy. What we found is that if we have a typical fisherman family, if they have 1 kilowatt of solar panel, but they don't have any land, if they live, coastal communities, many of them don't have much land ownership, they could produce hydrogen that they could use for the transportation, for lighting, or for burning. And that could be a significant part of their monthly expenses. And hydrogen, once you consume it, you probably know you can reuse it as many times as you want. So there's no, not so many negative byproducts, maybe except the brine from the electrolysis tank. And so based on this experience, because the community received this concept, they are very interested to push it further. And because Bali is a touristic island, 90% of the GDP is coming from tourism, they're very interested in this kind of green energy because they also start having air pollution issues like Jakarta. So we looked at different sites. We started to talk with the locals and trying to investigate the place. We ended up visiting 40 sites. And we found one in particular that's really, really good. It's in the north of Serangan Island. And then we discussed with the local what would they want. And most of them would say that they don't want necessarily to have one floating solar hydrogen per villager, but they would rather have something like more like a municipal solar hydrogen plant. And so we discussed with the tribal chief, with the religious chiefs, with the heads of school, and eventually we were introduced to 4 different government agencies, and everybody is very excited about the project. We also make a survey of the local biodiversity, And we also realized that not only we could produce hydrogen, we could also pump oxygen underwater. And that would improve the health of mangrove, which are a huge carbon sink. So mangrove can capture 4 times more carbon than a tropical rainforest like the Amazon, and it can sequester 10 times more. So that's the amount of tons of CO2 per hectare per year that the CO2 can be absorbed. So you can see seagrass mangrove can absorb way more CO2 than tropical forests. And then we continue with the community, and we started to do the sketches of what a larger installation could be. That could be both production, but mostly at this stage research, and also a classroom. And on the right side, we're talking about having a website where we could have real-time monitoring of how much sunlight goes onto the solar panel and how much hydrogen we produce, as well as the chemicals that are going to the electrolysis machine. So the idea is to do open science and do it in real time. Then we made some models that we keep discussing with the tribal chiefs. And this is the model that we have right now. So it's a 10 kilowatts capacity. And we have secured essentially the funds to actually build this platform. So we're going to start building this floating laboratory this winter. And we hope to be in operation latest mid-year. So it's basically a floating laboratory. Half of it is electric and mechanical, and the other one is chemistry and biology. Half of it would say focus on green hydrogen production, and the other one focus on mangrove health and how to increase carbon sequestration. We have a lot of research questions that we're starting to really lay out very clearly about low pressure hydrogen, underwater pressurization, and using non-toxic catalysts, how to improve the mangrove health, and how to make sure that the business model benefits the local people and employ local people, and also create IP for local people. We've already tested the IoT thanks to our partner Seed Studio. So this is our IoT, it's already been tested. And there's a scalability, potentially industrially, again, trying to benefit the local population. I'm going to skip this one, but basically Indonesia is one of the best places with the Gulf of Guinea to this kind of floating solar hydrogen, because there's a lot of sun, not so many waves, not so much current, and not crazy weather, not too extreme weather. But I want to show you very quickly something that I've just finished last week. So this is another community project, work with the coastal community in the Philippines. The idea is that most ocean science now is performed using very expensive technology. What if the Global South wanted to develop its own capacity of doing ocean science? What if we could do this in a village environment at very low cost, and so that, again, it could benefit the coastal community? So we propose this grand vision of International Ocean Station, but have a very pragmatic approach in a village, how we do that. So I just spent 2 weeks in the Philippines, starting by doing beach cleanup with the local cleaners, talking to elders and the fish farming, fisher folks women who are on the fish markets, and asking them to draw what would their dream of an international ocean station could be. We also talk to the tourist industry, because over there it's also quite big. So this is a floating hotel. Talk to the people who live upstream. So these are indigenous people who are living up the river, who are very caring about their brothers and sisters downstream. The youth, that many of them want to work in conservation. They really care about the environment. These are elder activists that have been recognized to be a tortured victim under Marcos dictatorship. So they continue to fight for environmental and for the health of the ocean. And also this young man was an orphan. So he worked as a fisherman as a child. And so he was saying that if he had an international ocean station, he would want to have a shelter for fishermen. And what they say, basically, those fisherwomen, they said that they want to have a fish processing plant and restaurant so they can continue to fish, but in a sustainable way. So we did all of this under a tree in a village in the Philippines. And just last week, in fact, just 5 days ago, we installed it at the Mine Museum, which is the largest science center in the Philippines, to continue the conversation with more different people, maybe the Navy, maybe ocean scientists, maybe more people who have different perspective of what this could be. And so the idea is that you can see on the left side, this is the International Ocean Station. So it's an underwater perspective. And on the right side is the International Space Station. The International Space Station, there's only one, and it cost $150 billion. And it's only for the richest country, and it was very slow to develop. And it only can be used for observing global warming. What we hope is that the International Ocean Station, there shouldn't be just one, there should be many. They should be low cost, open science, built in an inclusive way. We can make them fast. And the idea is that the ocean controls the climate. And so if we can have our feet on the ground or being in the water, this is the best place to develop nature-based climate solutions. And so we can see that the Philippines could be such a place. So similarly to the other speaker, I guess, I have the same belief that to address climate change, we're not going to do it only with science, or only with the politics, only with economy, but it's to do with the community involvement, working with arts to really create a space of possible, and working in open science to actually even create the ability to build businesses on top of those crazy ideas and experimental things that we build. So yeah, 9 minutes. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Really amazing what you are doing. And it is very inspirational and innovative. And following Cesar's introduction, Richart, we invite you now to illuminate us with updates on your latest projects. Richart,
you are muted. You are muted, Richart.
Now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, wonderful.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor to be part of this conference, and so I really appreciate it and thank you, Joy, and everybody else. And so, hi everybody. A lot of interesting stuff come before what I would like to say. For many years, as you all know now, since 1997, I've been developing floating islands in the lowest carbon footprint way possible. And I believe that we really need to strictly stay like this when we attempt to do floating structures. Firstly, the plastic bottles are already existing and are causing a problem all around the world. So anything we do with plastic bottles is a benefit before we even make anything with it. If we do something with the bottles, and to make a floating island, the bottles are immediately preserved in darkness underneath a platform, and the platform can be bamboo or old shipping pallets or palm branches even, and then planting mangroves. That's what I planted mostly on my islands because I was on salt water, but also for eutrophic lakes. Farming can be so much easier, and crops can be double or even triple. Because on a lake, firstly, there's nutrients in all those eutrophic lakes. And those nutrients are actually giving carbon to the atmosphere. So those nutrients can be used by creating farmland islands all over the world on rivers and lakes. The one I'm doing in Brazil right now is on a freshwater river, and it's flourishing amazingly. And I only put a little bit of earth on the top and horse manure with just the earth on the edge of the river, which has good nutrients in it. But let me just go back to the islands that I was doing in Mexico. I found that mangroves grow about twice as fast on a floating island than they do on the edge. And there's three reasons for that. One is that the tide actually affects mangroves. They don't like it when it's too high because they can't get oxygen. That's why they have those breathers. And when it goes too low and their roots dry out, they also don't like that. On a floating island, it obviously follows the water line. So the mangroves are so happy, and they don't need to put energy into trying to get the oxygen or resisting dry periods when the water goes down. The other thing is any new mangrove that's trying to grow where mangroves already exist, and as we know, they're being chopped down like crazy around the planet. So this is a way that we can make mangrove islands. And the mangroves on that floating island like a lot of sunlight. So when you have a new mangrove where they already exist, it's fighting for sunlight also. So it's very slow expansion there. And what was the third one? There was another reason. I can't think of it right now, but it'll probably pop into my head later on. The other one. There is definitely another one. It's fantastic. But anyway, the we heard of blue carbon ecosystems. It's basically the ecological system that mangroves create. So they clean the water, as we all know, and create life. And it goes on and on like that. The roots go through the plastic bottles. The plastic bottles are totally preserved, and it becomes stronger with time. And also, so basically, I'd like to talk about, if I've got time, floating islands on lakes and rivers for farms. Rice production around the world accounts for, I think, about 40% of farmland, and they flood the land usually, and that actually creates methane. There's a microorganism that grows in that flooded water. Now, that is actually damaging the planet and creating more climate change, negative climate change. So we could divert rice farmers. Firstly, it's so expensive, the preparation of the land. And there's a big carbon footprint in all of that, and then getting water to flood the lands. Whereas if you do them on a lake, there's now long dry seasons with the climate change. So the rice farmers are having even more problems. Whereas on a lake or a river, there is no dry period. It's constantly there, the water. And so the rice grows all year round. It feeds from the nutrients which are bad for the atmosphere in the lake, so reducing the eutrophic nature of the lake. It means that you need to put less soil on top of the island. And now you're not doing the normal way of growing rice, which is unecological. Instead, you're doing the opposite, and you're helping the planet and creating. And there's vast areas of lakelands and rivers to do this on. But Joy asked me to talk about the possibility of doing mangrove islands in coastal areas, which I was doing, and I got through a number of hurricanes, but I was forced out by the local authorities, mainly because of the area that I was in, because of such intense tourism and people fighting for land to make docks for protecting boats during hurricanes. There's hardly any hurricane protection areas, and I was in a lagoon which was specifically used for that type, and not specifically because I got the permit, but governments change, and then the government gets in that wants to make more money, and they push me out without allowing me the right time to put the post in that I was preparing to do, and I'd actually already paid and ordered. But anyway, I lost my islands in Mexico, and it was not due to the fact that the islands did not work. In fact, they really, really improved. They do work. And as our friend said, just in the last, I'm sorry about, I don't remember the name, but French in Bali, yeah, right, excellent. You were saying about mangroves sequestering up to 10 times. It's true. But if they're growing twice as fast on a floating island, that's even more. And so we could have these floating mangrove islands and actually get power from the waves at the same time. I've developed a way to having a hole in the floating island where the water comes up and down in that hole, and you have a top on it, and it creates like a bellow that can turn a turbine. It can create an air conditioner if you're living on it, or it can just turn a turbine day and night by the wave power and create electricity. Also, an interesting point about the methane, and not the methane, that gas. What was it? Hydrogen. Yeah, hydrogen can actually be created in an easier way, just by the trash, which is aluminium cans and copper diodes into salt water. You join them together and you get a direct current. And in that process of corroding in the salt water, hydrogen bubbles come up automatically. So you get electricity and hydrogen at the same time. I don't know if you know about that, but you may want to incorporate that in your plans. Anyway, what else was there? Mangrove islands all around the world. Also, tourist islands, which incorporate beautiful structures to attract the tourism, which would be ecological structures to collect the rain, cooking with the sun with mirrors, a windmill that wash his clothes. I've done all these things, and this time, all being well, and I believe God is completely with this one here, with the beautiful people here in Brazil. I've got full go ahead, and there's a very good potential for a reality show, which will all help in this. So I've got a global business plan that incorporates all of these aspects: farm islands on lakes and rivers that can be sold very cheaply and turn trash to ecological treasure, you know. And then also the tourist islands, which can make great money, and actually then some of that profits can be used for the farming islands or the mangrove islands, which will be more for cleaning the ocean and cleaning the atmosphere and with more mangroves. But they can be used to calm the water as well, so they can be like breakwaters. So I don't know, I could go on a lot, but basically, ultimately, to actually go on the ocean with an island that can expand and move out to one of the gyres where all the trash is building up. There, you wouldn't need an anchor because the island would just stay in the middle of the gyre and the trash would just spiral in towards what you're making. So as Einstein said, matter attracts matter. So what we've got there is like an island, let's say in the Pacific or the Atlantic gyre, and the trash would automatically be attracted in even more than it is now because of the central mass that you've got. It creates actual gravity. I've noticed that actually happening. Trash coming by in the marine system where I was in Spiral Island, you could see it change direction as it was floating by because there was an outflow, and it would come over to the island and wash up on the shore there. So it's absolutely amazing, making it. We could actually create a new continent. And I have noticed one of the most amazing things about creating a continent on the ocean is that once you get it over, my estimate is about 100 meters in diameter, all the rain that falls on it percolates through, but it can't go lower than the salt line. Salt is much heavier, salt water. Fresh water divides when there's no agitation in the water between the bottles. The water is calm. And so you have a fresh water table on an island as long as it's 100 meters in diameter or more. And the bigger it gets, the more fresh water you have there for your plants. So you could have an island of, let's say, 1 kilometer diameter on the ocean anywhere, and you would never need to water your plants even, ever. It would just, rain would just be collected in there. And you could have bananas and everything. So you literally could have floating Garden of Eden islands all around the world with hardly any maintenance at all and just live. Like my friend Joy, enjoy eternally together. I love you all.
Thank you so much, Richard. That was really amazing. And it's so much wisdom and knowledge you share with us. And I would love to hear more also from your global business plan and how we could do more community work.
I can send that through. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I also would like to quickly give Joy the work, and maybe you also would like to highlight some projects that are in the realm of open islands that are planned for the next time before we then dive into the Q&A.
Yeah. I didn't
Nicole.
understand that. Sorry, that last. Yeah.
So
hi, Joy.
I will just quickly give the word to Joy, and then afterwards we will have an exchange. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Let me try to share the screen. Can you see? Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I actually was not prepared to give a full speech as my vision is already in motion here. We are already joining our ideas and experiences in a small but great float community. This is what I wanted to, what I'm working on with the Makers for Humanity and our own project Open Island. And I can show some of the main steps that led us to this point. And then I rather want to talk with you together about the next steps, because our next steps will be community steps. So when I started working with floating islands, I was a street artist and didn't focus on water. But we had the World Fair in Hanover, in my hometown, and I had met some genius guy who sailed the East Coast USA with a recycling sailing raft, Christopher Bubbles, and we worked together to get a floating art piece on the lake in Hanover. And this was a future raft. It was 100% out of recycled materials, with automobile tires stuffed with plastic bottles. And then we had these two domes, and it worked perfectly as a symbol and as a meeting place for interesting people from all over the world. So I realized that everything what floats attracts the people as well as the media, because it's unique, it's something special. And I went on working on with art on waters. And hold on here. And some years later, oh, it has to load. Some years later, I did some floating gardens, the Future Islands. And this was an art piece that changed my mind. I don't know why it doesn't work right now. As always. Here, there's another one. The floating gardens were made of styrofoam, 10 centimeter styrofoam, and I sculptured the world map and planted all kind of different plants on top to see which would grow on floating platforms. And it was very interesting because all the plants grew like hell. It was a instant biotope, and the birds were breeding there. We had a population of birds on top, and below there were fish, and it was a paradise. And I thought, well, this is much better than just art. This can be a humanitarian innovation, which can be spread it all over, because there are so many benefits of floating islands. And well, in Germany we have almost stable climates, and it's much more beneficial in other regions. And so I went to India and build up a community there, the Makers for Humanity, and that was in Goa. And I worked with architects, with engineers, with artists, musicians, and we started constructing floating devices, a floating catamaran, sailing catamaran for the Arabian Sea, and a riverboat on the River Sal there. And there, after 3 years, we came up with this idea of Open Island, modular floating islands that can be built out of recycled materials and can be enlarged on the sea itself, or on the lake, on the river, which is possible through this modular system. First, we worked with pallets that are available all over the world, as well as plastic bottles, as well as automobile tires. The consumer waste is a renewable resource these days, and we picked the plastic bottles from the beaches and stuffed them into fisher nets that were our float devices, and then we put them together to larger units. So this was the original idea of this modular system. And after a while, like many people, they come to a new geometric construction option. This is the hexagon, which can be mounted much easier to stable connections. And this is back in Germany, directly before COVID, the pandemic. I took the project back to Germany to work on it constantly. And this is the prototype for for 5 modules combined with different purposes. And this is also how we organize the whole project. So we have different teams for the different purposes, for energy production, for education. We have several schools working on these projects. And today there was the first presentation of a students group working on this idea and system. And so this is what we have developed, and we would love to spread. We have already some cities that are interested in getting some of these islands on their own water bodies. So there is a lot of options what you can do with it. But the most interesting thing is that with such hands-on projects with a good purpose, you will attract the right people. You will attract like-minded people. You can connect organizations that feel attracted by the vision, the idea of togetherness, of getting things done, which is also the idea of our NGO, the Makers for Humanity. And so there are several benefits, and we are now on a point where we want to work on the specific purposes, but we can't do it alone. There, with the SDGs, we have a good overview what has to be done on the world for a good future for all of us. And these are the SDGs where floating islands can help. And we are now looking for partners that work on these issues on floating islands. And that's actually the reason for this conference as well, to get together and to form a cooperative or a tribe. However, this has to be discussed, and this is what we can do afterwards. Well, for us in Hanover, we then have decided, okay, we need now one module which can be used as a headquarter, as a co-working space. And this is the idea. This was the original sketch for this houseboat where we are right now. And this conference for us is also a prototype, as it is our first international conference on this small but beautiful space. And
yeah,
and all the energy we use here is produced by the solar panels on the rooftop. And it's fucking cold outside, but here we have okay, maybe 15 degrees, so this works. And yeah, so this is what I wanted to show. This is our history. And I'm so happy meeting up with all of you. And 2 of my float heroes, Cesar and Richart, are also here. So I actually was curious how Cesar would, what Cesar would say, which advice he would give to Richart to disseminate this idea of mangrove forests all over the world. How can we get all these great ideas into action, into distribution for communities, bottom up, open source and low tech. So this
I don't think I have an advice. I think you're doing amazing. I'm just really sorry to hear that you have these political trouble. I think we're going to run in those troubles, all of us, because we are trying to do something new and people have difficulty identifying it. And then if you are, my experience is that if you lie with politics, the political landscape will always change. So you can be okay during one election cycle, and the next election cycle, you're basically taking a huge risk. So it's a very difficult game to play. So I think you're much more experienced than me. I'm more like asking you advice. You can do this for so many years. Yeah.
Well, I have the experience that at the first project I wanted to be political, and I had really big enemies because a World Fair or the climate conference, they know exactly what they want to promote, and if you go there and say I have a better idea, then they will they will stop you.
Yeah,
and they have
yeah,
the
the
power.
ego gets it.
So my trick was to be an artist and to do something which is of no danger for anybody, and to let us develop a better solution which is not in the market but beneath the market. So this is an argument for community systems that are not capitalistic but benefit driven. So if no one earns money with it, but can have the benefit, then there is no market enemy. Then there is nobody who wants to steal your idea if it's only for humanitarian benefit and not for profit. So this is my strategy to work in peace and still do good.
Thank you so much, also Joy, for the presentation, and Cesar and Richard as well. And I mean, that could be also a kind of first question for all of you. How do you consider yourself as an artist and doing the community work? I mean, we heard already from Joy a bit, but is that really a door opener, or is it bringing you more harm?
I feel that it's a great door opener. What I wonder is how do you transform it in something that's going to be really durable? I don't have an answer for that. I've seen another floating hero of mine who is not present tonight, but he is Dutch, and he's running the agency Blue 21. What's his name? I can't say he's my hero and not know his name. Sorry. but basically,
Ramon Knöster?
No, he built a floating pavilion in Rotterdam. Anyway, the organization is called Blue 21, and his approach is much more commercial. And they have, artists business card that they can pull, but they tend to present themselves as an architect. Yes, Blue 21, thank you. And so I think they are positioning themselves to be building infrastructure that's durable. Not that what we do is not durable, but the aesthetic of it, it's more like urban environment. It's different. I feel our aesthetic is more ephemeral and more natural. But I think for the politics, they tend not to want to associate with those aesthetics. It's very strange. I think it's a perception of power. Yeah.
For me, it's oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Richard. Go ahead.
For me, it's location, I think. I was in Mexico, and I think for the time that I was there, it was fantastic. It was like the Krypton test. It was the most difficult part of the world I could imagine, really, to do it politically, with the such strong tourism there, and the beauty attracted a lot of television. So I was on the Discovery Channel like 5 times, all sorts of TVs that came from China and everywhere. And so that provided a great thing, but it wasn't the place to stay. Where I am now, they've already won a prize in the little coastal town here for the ecology, and they're healthily competing for the ecology in Brazil. They're very aware of it, and there's no winter here, so plants grow all the year round, and everybody will benefit from the floating island as a business, with local people employed, and and more revenue, paying taxes and everything, and then everybody's happy. So it can really work. And I'm entering the Elon Musk competition. I don't know whether everybody's heard about that, but the deadline for entering the Elon Musk, it's $80 million, 50 million for the top prize, a project that can reduce the carbon from the atmosphere the best out of all the projects that enter. And so I believe we can win this with the plastic bottle floating island concept. If it's explained well, Elon Musk really loves a challenge, and going out to the Pacific Gyre with a floating island that can become a continent could be as challenging, but certainly far more rewarding, I think, than going to Mars. And so I think we've got a really good chance. And so then Richart, we have money to dish out. Plenty of money to dish out and make work.
Yeah, no, but the question also was, do you still consider yourself an artist when open new doors, or?
Always an artist, because we need, I mean, God is an artist. Every leaf is different in the universe, you know. Every ripple is, you know, it's amazing. So I think we need to following the creator's footsteps, always be in touch with our divine creator. Yeah.
But now I also would like to hear about your innovative minds. So how are you utilizing art and innovation for yourself?
Okay, well, I did briefly mention that I made a windmill that turned with the wind, and it had a horizontal barrel that turned with that windmill, and the water was in there, and the sun shone through the transparent barrel. And underneath that was a trough with broken mirrors recycled from the trash. And it heated with the sun. So it was a solar heated, wind powered washing machine. And to dry the clothes, you took them off and you hung them on the bamboo windmill and they spun around with it, you know. So on a river, it's even easier with a water wheel that turns a barrel and you wash your clothes. I've designed wave powered flippers. And I try to put art in everything, but I think function must follow form. So I think function must come first. And then we add the artistic touches to it, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Cesar, how was it for you?
What I feel is that at heart, definitely, I feel like I'm a very creative and artistic person. But for our work to exist in the community, we sort of need to respond to what their needs are. So sometimes I will present the work, and then if it's a villager, they will be like, "Oh, you know, if it's a municipality, sorry, for example, they say, "Oh, are you an engineer?" And I would try not to respond to those questions. Or they will tell me, "Are you a marine scientist?" Or "Are you a businessman?" And I think the truth is that if we want those projects to be successful, we need to be all of these things at the same time. So I try not to put too much a label on myself and just let the people decide. If the way they approach the work is because they're interested in business of tourism, for example, then I should definitely let them build the touristic activities on the platform. If what they're interested is you know, sequestering carbon and they want to buy carbon credits, then let them do that. If they want to celebrate the local culture, and this is about art and the preservation of their identity through aesthetics, then we should absolutely do that. So my approach is to let people decide whether this is art or science or design or engineering or anything in between. And I don't know if it's going to be successful, but because I'm much earlier in the project than Joy and Richart, so that's a slightly different approach I'm trying to have.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really amazing. Yeah. It also shares my thought a little bit. So Joy, how is it for you? So which experience that you have?
Well, what Cesar said is totally correct. It's a symbol, it's a platform, and the platform is the better, the more different people join it. So everybody has his own expectation, and then they will find, then they will connect on their own level and topic. So this is the beauty of these collaborative projects, and it's a house with many doors, and let's just meet together in the middle. But Nicole, I know that you're an expert also in artistic research, and there I would love to hear from you about your experience concerning art and science. Is there a connection between the both?
Yeah, thank you so much. So Cesar and Richart, maybe you know that I run the Institute for Art and Innovation here in Berlin.
I did.
So
oh, wow.
What I'm trying since 2017 is pursuing interdisciplinary collaborations on the intersection of art, science, technology, and innovation. And of course, education or politics come in as well. So for me, water, is the element and is the kind of medium, I would say, that people could understand maybe on different dimensions, in different dimensions, on different levels, and by that also understand their own potentials. And for me, every project is a kind of new endeavor, exactly how you describe it, Cesar. Letting people come closer, open up, collaborate, ideate, and really showing up what they think about their wishes, their dreams, how they would live in the future, also with the waters and so on. And I think by always letting them speak and letting them show up, we can create these kind of worlds and realities, that we really love to see in the world. I mean, for me at least, I have really big dreams. So, and what I like is, for me, I also try to be as neutral as I can. Sometimes I say I'm not even a woman anymore in the process, just to let the others show themselves, right? So, and I think I see myself more as an enabler, and by that letting the others manifest and really even be surprised about themselves, what they really wish for, and not being fully dependent on structures and existential issues and so on and so on. So rather, pulling everything positive out of them in a way, So that's why I'm really, really excited to meet you all here. And for me, when it comes to art and science, this is what I'm really interested in, because I think at the moment what we face is that the facts are out there since many decades in lots of different fields, but humans have not understood what they now should do with all the information, with all the knowledge. So I think what we are also in is times where we have to aggregate knowledge, and we have no tools to do so. We even have no tools for finding compromises in complex worlds. So there's a lot to learn together, in my opinion, and we really have to bring everyone to the table, be it a young kid, an old man, exactly what you are doing, Cesar, and also Richart and Joy, and letting them exchange and negotiate, right? What everyone could bring to the table, where they take on a responsibility and so on. And by that, shaping the future we really want to live in. And for me, that's why art has to come in, right? Because artists are the kind of explorers, and be it in the social realm, in the innovation realm, or even in the science realm. So for me, there's also artists in science, which is great. And I think these brilliant minds, I mean, everyone is unique, and they really have to understand that they bring something into the world, and we should share the best perspectives and the best attitudes, right, that we can bring to the table. And this is what I wish for. So what I'm trying also to do is find the right scientists to collaborate with that are really willing to share openly and not make it more complicated, right? and by that everyone really learns in the process. The scientists from the artists from the scientists, or even innovators from artists, or the other way around. But I would love, that's why we also initiated the Social Art Award several years ago. What I would also love is to empower artists to be more innovative, yeah, and be more on the front line when we face climate change and other issues. So this is from my side. Thank you so much. But how do you see that, Richart and Cesar? How comes science into your project?
Sorry, Nicole, first, you're one of my heroes too. And we have some more really interesting people in the round. I would love to hear something from Daniel also. And Julia has a question. She raised her hand some time ago. So maybe we can open this discussion a little bit up to have more people talking. That would be great.
Let's do so. So Julia.
Hello. Hey guys, great presentation. Thank you so much. And yeah, it fits really well with what you were just saying, Nicole, and also Cesar before, because when you were presenting, all of you, I was thinking, oh, wow, I hope you are together with scientists who then kind of, in a way, second what you're doing, and in a way also translate back that knowledge into this more universal format that people can read about it in an academic paper and adopt it in a way. So I had one anecdote where I worked together with a marine scientist in Sweden, and he wrote a paper on ocean acidification. His name is Sam DuPont, and he realized that everybody who will read this paper already knows about the topic, and that he can't actually read anybody who doesn't know about ocean acidification with his academic paper. So this scientist became a creative himself, and he got his paper accepted in Nature magazine, but then he asked them to postpone the publishing until just before Christmas, when everyone in Sweden eats shrimps, and he had been breeding shrimps in conditions of 2020, 2030, and 2050, and he rented a space in front or in one of the big shopping malls under the header Taste the Future, and cooked up his shrimps. And people tasted that these shrimps in the acidity conditions of 2050 tasted differently, and they were appalled, and they were like, oh my God, shrimps in the future won't taste the same. So in the end, he had international press, national press, local press, and his paper published at the same time. So he kind of created a funnel from a broad audience to his very specific topic that made everyone realize that everyone should care about this. And for me, this is one of the best examples of how art and science can work together. There, both was done by a scientist who saw the need to reach out to other audiences. But I think quite often it happens in combination. And in a way, some of your projects are clearly an example how it happens. But my question is, how do you work with scientists, and how do you kind of, for example, about the mangroves? I think there the link was even clearest. Cesar was saying he's working with this open science concept, but with the mangroves, I was thinking, wow, who is writing a paper about this growth patterns of mangroves on islands? How wonderful is it when we can reach out into other areas of the ocean with that possibility? So that's my question.
Can I answer that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I looked up online because many people used to say to me, you know, are you doing damage with your plastic bottles? You know, and is there microplastic coming out of it and stuff like that? You know, but so I had to contend with people who thought they knew science, but really they hadn't. There's hardly any studies on this, except that I did find out that a plastic bottle free floating in the ocean can take hundreds of years to break down into very fine particles. But it cracks up in about 10 years or something like that, but then it takes time to crack smaller and smaller and smaller. But I do know that the floating island plastic bottles don't crack up. and didn't crack up. I can say that for 12 years, I had one island and they were totally intact. In fact, totally covered with life. I'm talking about mollusks on them and all sorts of sea fauna and foliage, you know, everything growing there. So it becomes a life support, and there's intelligence in life, and the life doesn't destroy what it needs to float. So it's protected by all the life around it. But we need to make that scientific knowledge because it is not. And there's been a prize won by an Australian reality show creator, but not just that, a documentary creator. She created a documentary on the Earth ships. You probably heard of the Earth ships, yeah? Well, she won a prize for that, but then she got into a competition for ITV in England, London, for a new reality show. And she contacted me and she's proposed a reality show where people create their own unique floating island, and then there's a judging process to make it, you know, to fit into primetime TV and all of that. And they basically put it on hold just because of one so-called scientist who just put a doubt in and said, what about microplastic? I had to write a whole article on it and send it to them. But the proposal was done without me even being involved. And if I'd have been involved from the beginning, it's just amazing how little respect I get for people who think they know.
But this is like, in a way, this is also an answer. This is the opposite answer. So you're not actually collaborating with science, but you see it more as a friction.
I'm trying to. They should collaborate with us. I'll tell you why.
Yeah, they should. But I mean, they're also quite interested sometimes.
They need to get a bit more humble and open their minds up. The plastic is destroying the planet, right? Right. That's a scientific discovery that's been done, and now they've been very irresponsible. They haven't created for the cleanup of it. They created for the selling of it, and money was the main thing. Okay. They use science, and it's all right and all of that, you know. But we need to realize that there's a responsibility attached to that. And I've come up, and other people too, have come up with great ideas, and oftentimes they get poo-pooed, you know, by people who just can very easily just say something, and they've got letters behind their name or whatever, and then other people believe them. And we need to break through that ice and obviously be friendly, but take a stand. And I'm doing that now more and more. I really know more, and obviously they're sharpening my intelligence on this. I go by feeling, and I know, and it does work. But yes, I do need to make it more formally acceptable. But the wheels within science are so slow, you know, But we need to speed this thing up. You know, we need to find a way of breaking through quicker. And do you see what I mean?
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Welcome. I also would like to give the word to Cesar, how his relation is to science and scientists.
Yeah, I'd say right now well, first of all, I'd like to resonate with Richard, because I do see in conversation, because I'm also in academia, that when I'm introduced, sometimes as a scientist, sometimes introduced as an artist, but there's always if people had to make a choice, they always prefer to introduce me as a scientist, because there's societal perception that science is more important than art and more valuable and more, you know, respectable. And I really think that's actually really damaging, I think, overall for the collaboration. If you want to have a good collaboration, we think we have a healthy respect that we can help each other. So I think that's really the baseline that I'm trying to establish. But psychologically, it's very difficult to establish this equal relationship. So I think that's really important to mention, because I think I do feel in you know, what Richard is saying. The way that I'm sort of managing this relationship is a bit different, is because right now, even though I don't have a background in science, I do a lot of work which is more in the field of engineering, I'd say. But I'm also managing the money of the project. And so because I'm fundraising for the scientists, then I'm almost in the position of being the funders. And so the power, then it's a different power dynamic because I'm managing the project overall. But then that also means that I have to respect their scientific integrity. So it means that I have to completely defer to the expertise of that is scientific. And I found a lot of pleasure in having them prove my assumptions wrong. For me, there are very few things in life that I enjoy more than being proven wrong. And so I love to work with the scientists and being challenged by them. And what I can tell you now is that the project is becoming bigger. And so the scientists that I'm working with, they have been working on the topic of hydrogen for 25 years. And so they are funded under a national agenda for the energy, which is like those massive budget for the whole economy and the country of Indonesia. And it's going to become the fourth most populated country in the world. And so they're going to become the fourth biggest consumer of energy eventually in about 50 years. And so the scientific approach is very procedural. It's like we're going to do step 1, step 2, step 3. But actually, if you look at the hacker or the designer mindset approach is typically trying to find a scenario of usage. And this is where I use the artistic side. Okay, we need to have cultural acceptance, societal acceptance, and then we can bring in the science and engineering. Because if society cannot dream that this is possible, no matter how good the science is, the people will not accept this new technology. So what in that context,
that's a magical trick, Cesar.
Yeah. And the difficult,
it's future prototyping, right? And by that, inviting every perspective into the process. Yeah, I really love that.
And so the difficulty is to have a scientific integrity, because if you are controlling the money and the vision, then you're also potentially biasing the science. So we have to respect each other's territory and collaborate, and it's difficult, always difficult, because everybody feels that they are the overarching sort of logic. So sociologists would tell us, economists would tell us something else, and so business people, of course, they tell us business is the most important. Ecologists will tell us ecology is the most important. So we have to manage all these expectations.
Yes, and I mean, we live in these complex times with wicked problems. We need this systemic approach, right? And when it comes to system innovation in the big scale, let's say, then we are newbies as humans. So we have no clue at all how we should deal with that. So yeah, I'm really happy to share perspectives here. But now I also would like to ask Budi, what is your question or your comment here?
I really appreciate all the presentation. Thank you so much for all those. It's inspiring and also makes me scared, honestly, because of all the challenges that's ahead of me if I want to build my floating island schools. First of all, I might need your guidance, you guys, because it sounds to me like you guys able to convert theory to practice quite practical and easily. It's from my perspective, but I know there's a lot of challenges that you encounter. But I'm trying to like get some form of like floating structure by end of next year, hoping that I can present it on this conference also. But my question, it will be, I know there's a lot of nuances that you have to juggle that you mentioned, and you have to like raise funding. For some pioneer and starter and like people who doesn't have the floating, that they just have their vision and ideas, what is like the action item and step-by-step processes that would you recommend? So for someone like me, for example, any of you maybe could answer that. Thank you.
Richart, you like to go first? You are muted, sorry. Richart?
Yeah, the signal went off for me, so I don't know what just recently went on.
Would you like me to ask the question again, Richart?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So my question in summary will be for pioneer or like the future captains, how do they get started and what should they prioritize, or what are the action items basically?
Okay. Well, if you're heading for the ocean, it's advisable for me to go to the port captain and let them know at least what you're planning to do. The good thing is that you don't need to get a permit. I think it's everywhere in the world, more or less. Maritime law basically says that you can build a boat. You can build any floating artifact, anything. So, but if you want to actually start maneuvering on the ocean, then you do have to register it. So it's quite simple, that really. For registration, you just need to be able to maneuver it with a rudder and some form of propulsion. You know, it can be a sail, it can be whatever, you know, or it can be towed. Yeah. So, and I think that I would suggest definitely start with planting green on it, because you get the power of nature on your side and the power of people understanding that you're trying to do something ecological. Whereas quite a few people that have been in touch with me ignored my advice and just made a floating structure, and then the authorities stopped them before it was in the water or just after, you know. So, but if you make it green, firstly, it just looks more beautiful, and then you get the power of wanting to do something good for ecology on your side. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
No, Cesar. Let's head to Cesar. What would be?
Yeah, I would say the same, is that don't let money, or, you know, the lack of resource be your enemy. The lack of resources is your friend, in the sense that most people in the world don't have resources. And so sometimes having too much resources leads you to doing some inventions that are irrelevant to the majority of people on the planet. And I think both Joy and Richard are using recycling material. Myself, unfortunately, I experienced homelessness when I was a researcher, and I would continue to build prototype using material from the trash, and work in a squat in London. And I think I did some of my best work when I was the least equipped to do it. So I would say like start something very small, because nobody's going to invest in you unless you make your first investment of your demonstrating your own character and using material that are around you, which makes it relevant to your context. So I don't think you need the permission. You just need to get enough energy and muster whatever you can find, put something in the water, and then you will learn by doing. And the community will naturally come around you because you are doing something, and so few people are actually doing something. So
yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, buddy, live the old American dream. Just do it, and you will see who is your friend and who has something against. And from there on, you can manage.
And it's always learning by learning by doing, Buddy.
Learning by doing. That's basically what I do a lot of time. I'm very inspired by the structure organization that all of you have, and then like being able to be pragmatic at the same time to be true to your vision. I definitely want to try to like follow your footstep in certain way, although my way is right now like what you say, like I had to struggle a little bit, like in like just continue with the vision because of what you say, like lack of resources. But now I'm like on the better position. That's why I'm like have more energy toward like moving it to more practical level. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Buddy, for this question. And now, Daniel, what is your comment or question?
Yeah, thank you. Now, I was asked by Joy to talk a little bit about the activation of global networks and how one can build even alternative networks and organization and open it up to a very let's say easy step and approach. And I feel like it really fits into all of the last comments. And I would like, first of all, to introduce you a concept which is called open social innovation, and then give you a little bit an example of what we're going to do and how to use it. Because what and how this concept is, I put it also already on the board of today's on the mirror board of today's workshop. It's actually, so we should ask ourselves not only the question what we give in and out, but also how does how does the outcome affects our direct stakeholders and most of all the society, the civic society. Yeah, so what does it mean concrete? Because I like to do things concrete. Yeah, so what we did during the COVID pandemic were creating huge hackathons. Yeah, there were like 42,000 people in Germany following this concept, following these processes I'm going to show you now. And we did the same hackathon 3 weeks later for in Africa for the AFDB, where 25,000 people participated. So, and it's actually straightforward, and it aligns with what Nicole said about creativity, design thinking approaches, and stuff like that. So it's first of all building an alliance. Or identifying a problem, and then it's important to really identifying the problem, but only think in solutions and really gather already existing solution, and then think, okay, where are levers of change? Yeah, where are things possible to create networks about, and then go into the deep dive as we started now and see, so what kind of solutions are possible. And after you have done this, then you actually begin to understand the system, put all perspectives together, and then you're able to really go for scale and build scalable prototypes. So the process itself is quite easy. We can do it like today. Yeah, we came up with 3 really great prototypes, but now it's really about gathering the know-how which is here in the room, which is really amazing. So I really learned a lot today in building partnerships, and to really commit to a minimum. Yeah, not to commit to a maximum, but really commit to a minimum, and don't do lesson learned, but do commitments for the next week, for the next month, for the next conference. Yeah, and then present the solution and scale up for change. And yeah, to change the system, it's always good to maybe have some big organizations in order to also find alliances inside of them, and especially the artistic approach in climate change. It's also brought in by Kirsten Dumlop, who really has this this European Bauhaus approach, a huge perspective for artists itself. So what I can say, and then it's enough theory, it's like take a holistic approach, try to understand systems, when you model them, and then see which like levers of change you actually can create in order to scale the prototype. And we were talking a lot about islands, and that was our concept when we went to the COP last year. But this year we put the island, so to say, on the bike and created a mobile storytelling for resilient communities. Yeah, I posted it already in the chat. You can see it. You can download the QR code, and we already created a pilot for India. And what we did, and this is how we started a huge engagement. There were over 30,000 downloads already on this app. It's to make it very easy. Yeah, so engage the community, support, learn from each other, broadcast your ideas, and then find unique, find maybe one thing. For you, it's the islands. For us, it's a creative velo and a choir who's connecting over 300 schools from all over the world, singing on the COP a song with maybe Billie Irish and in their language. So it's all just an entry point, and how we go about it and create our theory of change. I think this is also I'm going like this. It's like to build a community, get campaign parameters, develop some guiding principles, and then use like your vision of an island or ours of this creative velo, in order to to have a certain step, of filming a documentary or bringing in your own prototyping ideas and going for innovation, collaborating campaigns, and also give them tools where they can develop a bottom-up approach and also find ways to fund themselves. I think that's very important, that you give the responsibility. I mean, it's great if Elon Musk gives us 80 million, but it's also important to gather the crowd and convince them of the use of the project, and then then you can create your own little systems, exchanging skills, understanding, applying, analyzing, and then evaluating the process and go over and over it again. So my advice would be really to create in your teams a minimal commitment. And then once you have this, try to find action and meeting points where small teams meet, and then accelerate the process by meetings and organizations like that. And then I think you can really scale up the process and maybe find some non-obvious solutions, like this creativelo on each island, which I would like to see, in order to find another transmitter to spread ideas in the world. So that's like my 2 cents.
Thank you so much for sharing, Daniel. And that brings me also to another question. First of all, what kind of collaboration are you seeking at the moment, Cesar and Richart and all others that are here? And what do you, what kind of expectations maybe you also had from this conference? Cesar, you are muted, sorry.
For me, the first for sure was to learn. Like Joy, like what you guys do is very inspiring to me, and I really want to just to stay updated with the things that you do. And then there's always new, young, interesting people that are joining this conference. So for me, it's mostly about learning and just seeing, what's going on out there. And of course, if I can update this work that I'm doing, and if people are interested in green hydrogen and mangrove carbon sequestration, then I'm always open to a new collaboration.
Thank you so much. Richart?
Yeah, I think this is fantastic. It's the first time I've been involved in something so well organized, and the fact that Joy is even an artist like me. I was a street artist for many years as well. So we have so much in common, and I'm so happy to be involved with this. And I believe we can make massive strides in a short space of time. With this going, just keep the ball rolling. It's a snowball effect, right? I think it will work, especially because it's winter now there. But and people long for the tropics here where there's no winter at all. And so I can have visitors here. I can sleep backpacker style, 2 people. So it can be a couple or 2 friends, and they could volunteer and stay and just enjoy. I've opened a little restaurant, a little vegetarian restaurant here. So I'm into creative food, and we have all sorts of amazing fruits and roots and seeds and herbs and spices that I have never knew they existed. And they're just the ones that are in the shops. And I have a friend here now who knows the jungle stuff. And so we have amazing things happening right now. And so it's all exponential, So it's the beginning, but that can soon, rent is so cheap here. You can buy a hectare of pure paradise rainforest here on the edge of a beautiful river leading to a fantastic resort 28 kilometers downstream for $1,000. 100 meters by 100 meters.
Amazing.
Richart, I'll definitely
just
visit
totally
you
green.
in Brazil
Yeah.
one day.
Yeah. So what about you, Joy? What kind of collaborations are you looking
I can't hear.
And what kind of partnerships?
Signal's gone off.
Yes.
Well, last year we started with the hackathon you organized with your institute. We started the float generator.
Well, the internet signal's not the best here.
The float generator which is an citizen science kind of platform where we are collecting knowledge that can be applied on these islands, and this is something we definitely will continue to develop and to share. This is something which helps all the makers out there on their specific ideas to see who else has faced this problem or has found a solution. So there are already some platforms, Apropedia, for example, where is a huge collection of manuals and knowledge, open knowledge. So this is something we're going to work on, and it's always it's a matter of motivation. I mean, if I do it for myself, I don't see the reason to spend so much time. So if we can join as a community, as a float tribe, then all of us will be more motivated to share our knowledge, our experiences, and to share our questions, also to get feedback. And this is something which helps me to follow this this way, and to not only to do things, because I'll do it anyway. And we have a growing community here in Hanover, and thank you all for being here, to being with us, and to sharing this vision. And it's so great, so beautiful people. So I have my benefit with the community on location, but there is much more we can do. And I know about others in this talk, also in Malawi. They have problems with their lake, and the solutions are out there. So why not put it together and start with the easy manual, how to build a floating island for inland waters, and then the purposes are different, but the solutions also. And the best solution is always to combine different benefits, to have mangroves or vegetation on top, to have cultural events to engage the community, to have maybe a tourist resort or an artist in residency opportunity, and then with the international community in these countries, in Africa, in India, I know it. If you can say it's an international project, the people will listen. If you just do it by yourself, you have no chance in India. But as an international community, it's marketing. It's just an image. It's nothing special. But we can play this game, and then it will help all the different groups to speed up their efforts to get more attention, and to have somebody, some group for feedback and advice. And even if I face a big problem, it's good to know where I can, with whom I can share my problems or the ideas. So I want to invite you to leave your email address, and we're gonna work on the Miro board and make a paper out of it and share it with you, whatever you do with it. But then we have a start to collect this knowledge. And however, I mean, we could do this conference every year. November is perfect for us. Outside it's cold, so let's get global.
Thank you. Is there anyone also in the group who wants to share his or her thoughts on the global partnership, let's say?
I think I I like the presentation about the open collaborations, and I remember one time we had that wiki idea. I wonder, Joy, can you explain if there is any movement on that? Just like sharing knowledge, sharing resources type.
We started this wiki, and I think I even shared the link on our website. I have the link to this wiki, but so far the response was very little, and our own time also had different priorities. So this is something to be done, or maybe another system would be easier. Maybe it's not a wiki, but a Facebook page where we just post interesting links. So it's more easy to just share informations on one channel, or the Telegram chat or some other messenger. Maybe it's a good question in the round. What is the best communication channel for collaborative collections or projects?
I would recommend
you use?
Notion, because you can make it very easily and spread the spread like informations and build different undergroups. So for the huge global networks and information, I would suggest Notion. For the
Daniel, but
front.
it's not for free, right? There's no free version.
It is.
Yes?
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Notion is for free. It even has an AI application you can use it, so that's very easy. So for the front end, I would run Ocean, and for the back end, for the communication or the internal group, I would suggest something like Slack or whatever, or Teams, something like that. Yeah, that's.
I'm a huge Notion fan personally, so so I would be favorable to this. But about the international aspect of it, I think there's also a political dimension. Recently, I've been doing a lot of collaboration with Iranian colleagues, and you know, in this time when there's increasingly war, I think symbolically building this floating island, because I'm close to South China Sea, is very symbolic, right? And so I think for a lot of people, what we do can be something that they want to lash their imagination on. And so if in our community, we can manage to have people from a different background, different, Israeli, Palestinian, Indonesian, Western people collaborate together, it can be a huge victory in the sense that we can be a place where people can collaborate together. We can demonstrate that. I think it can also have not only a artistic, scientific, but also like a political symbolism attached to it. I think is very important as well.
There is an interesting.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah.
There was a German artist, I think Günther is his name. He worked in the 90s on an art piece. It was called The Refugee Island, and it was just imagination. And he just calculated if the refugees all over the world would be a nation, it would be the third biggest population in the world. So
Wow.
he thought about artificial floating continent, a nation, the refugee island, and this was just fiction, but he's true. I met him in New York once and asked why don't you realize it? And he looked at me, how could I? But actually we could, and we could build a supranational island, decentralized, not in one place, but all over the world. And then it would even be some kind of global network where you could you would have a community wherever you go.
When I was doing some work with my students in architecture school in Hong Kong University, I showed both of the work of Richart and the work of Joy as an example for what we could do with the Rohingya in Cox's Bazar. And my students, some of them design some floating gardens. And I mean, it seems like it could be a useful thing, like you said, like humanitarian technology. So I think I can't help but think that one of the biggest success that we could have is that if we help, even in a very small way, because there's, like you said, there's going to be so many more, hundreds of millions of climate refugee are going to be, on the road, already on the road. So yeah, I think that should be where we should focus our efforts, honestly.
I wonder also if there is a way for us to support you guys. What would that be, and what's next? For example, for Joy, Cesar, and Richart. And then the next question would be like, if there's a milestone that we all as a community should be focusing on as part of that collaboration portion globally.
I have an idea. Maybe we can publish. Maybe we can collect interesting groups and projects all together, and then next year publish an ebook about floating futures. And I'm so sure that all of these groups will be delighted to be published with their project in this ebook, or maybe we find a publisher. But this could be a really good platform to go on from there. And
I love that idea. Honestly, that's probably a way for us to do the fundraising using that materials, any material that we can publish. And there's an issue with IP as well, but you guys know about it.
If we connect all these creatives and makers and engineers, they will give us the IP. And if we use this as an open source project, if there are if we can earn money with it, we can just give it to the project of all of them who needs it most. So it's a non-capitalistic project. And then we won't have problems.
Yes. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, our conference is over, but we also pursue to the captain's dinner, but that will be without our virtual audience, I mean, on YouTube or wherever it is screened. So I would like just now to say a big thank you to all our friends, visionaries, innovators, and all attendees who have contributed to the success of the Floating Futures Conference and Vision Workshop. And we extend our heartfelt gratitude for your active participation and valuable exchange of ideas and wisdom and knowledge. Your dedication has created a wave of inspiration that resonates with the spirit of innovation and collaboration. And it's so great that we could co-design, co-create, and now also hear from you. And as we celebrate the diverse projects and visions shared during this event, we invite each one now of you to join us for the Captain's Dinner, a virtual gathering for networking, lively discussions, and further exchange of insights. And hopefully, Woody, you also get your question answered and feel the ripple effect of change as we continue this transformative conversation. Let's collectively shape the future of floating projects and explore the possibilities that lie ahead. Thank you for being such a crucial part of this journey, and we look forward to seeing you at the Captain's Dinner, where the conversation continues and the future unfolds. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you. It was quite interesting.
So we can stop.
I look forward to the next one. Forward to the
live stream now, and then have our
live stream stops now, and whoever wants to stay in this Zoom room can stay, and